You want to take me?
All right, we are live. Good evening, friends. Welcome to episode 26 of the Career Shifts podcast. I'm your host, Gopal, and I'm excited to have all of you join us today. If this is your first time joining in, Career Shifts is all about exploring the incredible stories of people who have taken big leaps in their careers, facing challenges, making bold moves, and finding their purpose along the way. And for those who have been with us for a while, you know how much these conversations can spark ideas and give you fresh perspectives. Today's episode, it's going to be an extra special one because this is where Career Shifts podcast meets Career Track. Before we start, let me ask you something. Have you ever felt stuck in your career or unsure about your next step? Or maybe you have wondered how to make your voice heard in today's noisy, fast paced workplace. If that sounds familiar, you're in for a treat. My guest today is someone who knows these challenges inside out, Coach Ram, the author of the amazing book Career Trek. This episode has been a long time in the making. I've had chat about this book and the episode while with Ram, but let's go back to where it all started. I was introduced to Ram by Sham, another guest who was there on the podcast earlier, Sham Sadashivan. And we had a great time that evening. And that went on to create a lot more conversations until we finally met each other again at one of the alumni meets. We grabbed a mic and took a picture. And I jokingly said, this would be the photo that I'll use when we do the podcast together. And guess what? I did that this morning. And here we are making it happen. Ram, as some of you may know, is one of the most soft spoken yet impactful leaders that I've ever met. He's calm, thoughtful, full of incredible stories. Every conversation with him leaves you feeling inspired and thinking a little deeper. So, in this episode, we will try to talk about Ram's journey, what made him write the Career Track book, what will get you thinking about your own growth and impact, some practical advices, and tackling mid career blues or crisis, how to build resilience and thrive in today's ever changing workplace. So, this isn't just another episode, it's a conversation packed with wisdom, real life lessons, and that can make the difference as you navigate your career. So let's not wait any longer. Let's jump into this incredible conversation with Coach Ram and explore the lessons and insights from Career Trek. Stick around, and I promise to leave you with inspired stories and ready to take charge of your career. Ram, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Thank you so much, Gopal. Doing great. Yeah, and you've been part of the book launch of Career Trek as well.
Yes.
So
Yes.
very special and happy that we are doing this together. Congratulations to you. I've seen career shifts as a journey has taken has really impacted a lot of people. You're a great storyteller, and
Thank
the
you.
kind of guests that you've been getting on the show, very very rich, diverse, and I'm sure is adding a lot of value to all the viewers. So happy to be here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining and I know this was long due, but it was also important that you were able to space out the events that you were going through yourself, launching the book. So, completely understand what goes into writing a book and launching it. We'll get into that in a bit. Yeah, it's been a great journey personally. I mean, 26 episodes, and it's been a ride of its own. I've heard a lot
I'm
of
getting
people.
TV Rao for the 25th episode.
25th episode. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was more like a fanboy moment, dream come true moment, as
Yeah,
you
I,
want to
I
call
like
that.
the I like the I like what you did with the 24th episode also, getting all the getting all the speakers together.
Yeah.
So when I looked at that 24th episode, I thought, okay, necessity is mother of invention. So that's how.
Indeed, indeed. I was like that morning. I was sitting and thinking, oh, what would I do if without a guest? Maybe then I'll kind of summarize the whole 23 episodes journey. And just a thought came in, like, let me ask people who were there in the episodes in the past if they are free, just stop by. And I think it turned out to be that most of them wanted to, and then it became a problem of plenty. But I mean, that was a gem of the episode. I would really cherish that for a long time because there was such
Hmm.
incredible insights that got discussed in that. But today is the day about you and the book and the journeys that you've had. So, any starting thoughts, comments that you want to share with the audience who's listening now, who may listen to you later?
Oh, careers has been a topic of interest. Hmm.
Yeah.
With my own career, I've been on the lookout for yeah. People talk about self-made person, etc. Um, and I've got complimented as being a self-made person, but I don't believe there's something called as self-made. Um, you're always made by your network, people around you, circumstances, people who take bets on you, all of that
Yes.
together. But having a coach, mentor, someone structured who can give you guidance inputs is something that is lacking, and I would say it even today. Mm, I see some of the organizations coming up with career coaching as a proper
Yeah.
service, etc. But I see this as an area has evolved. So what I haven't got is what I wanted to give in a more structured form, and that's how my journey as a coach began morphing into career coach, more specifically into mid careers, helping people, reinvent, take that leap. Um, what do you call as the second half of the careers?
Hmm.
The
Hmm.
first half is fairly breezy. Keep doing the right things, keep doing well, and you
Yeah.
will succeed. The second half is a little more complicated, not so straightforward. So that's where coaches come into play even more. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so that's largely
Absolutely.
what got my interest into coaching.
Wonderful. I sometimes wonder, whether it is a good thing to be in the mid career in 2024, because mid careers in 80s and 90s looked very different, perhaps even 10 years ago. Today, mid careers look very different. And I keep wondering what would mid careers in the next decade is going to look like. So, well, we can only keep inventing, reinventing, and see how things go. So this morning, when I, sorry, you had a point to say. Go ahead.
I know. I would sort of when I'm looking at the recent a cricket corollary.
Mm.
When I'm looking at the recent test matches, all the test matches tend to finish in 3 days, barely get into the
Yeah.
fourth day, etc. So someone commented saying that it is no longer a test match of 4 innings. It is about four or two T20 matches happening, right?
Well, we
So
just saw that, and we're going to see
yeah,
that once again.
yeah. So what used to be as an example saying first half of your career, second half of your career, and Chandramouli Venkatesh, he wrote the book where he talks about first half, second half. Now I don't think it's about first half, second half. There are multiple innings. So every
Where would the half be? Is the question.
yeah, every 3 years is a journey in itself, and
Yeah.
you need to keep reinventing yourself every 3 years. And if you're not, things are not going your way.
Yeah. True. 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 Sometimes even 3 years seems to be long. Is what I keep thinking. But when I posted about this episode this morning, someone sent a message saying that, oh, the guest today is Coach Ram. Is his name Coach Ram? And I and I know that there is a story behind it, and also that we jokingly spoke about you wanting to go and change it in gazetted notification as well. But let's hear more about what made that happen. Like, why Coach Ram, and how many people know that real name of yours?
Yeah, quite a lot of people. You know, I need to introduce myself even when I meet at some of the conferences, etc. They may say, "Okay, I'm Ramakrishna Rao," and they'll be like, "Huh, okay." And then I say, "On LinkedIn, you'll find me as Coach Ram." Then they're like, "Oh, okay, 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 that person." So that tends to happen. Um, I believe in visioning, mm,
Sure.
and that's something that has worked for me.
Mhm.
Mm, a good 2 decades ago, um, Hotmail was my first personal email ID, and
Mm.
my email ID was ram.coach@hotmail.com.
Wow.
Um,
Wow.
that's a good 20 years ago. Haven't even started my career at that point. But something in me told that I wanted to be a coach. The
Mm.
definition of coach kept getting morphed, etc., etc. Um, but that stayed with me that I wanted to be a coach. My first role um, after training to be in software as a developer, moving into soft skills as a trainer, that transition is something that I've been. That transition is what made me reflect on, you know, we need to be more intentional in going about our careers, choosing what we want to do. So that's my first role as a graphologist, analyzing people's handwriting and then giving insights to people on how to choose careers that suit them, right? So yeah, so that's where the labeling of code started. Um, I never knew the concept of personal branding when I called myself Coach Ram. Uh, just started it off, and I thought Ram is a very familiar name. So Ram, Krishna, these are all very familiar names. So I thought Coach Ram might be unique for a good recall. So that's how I went with Coach Ram. So and it stayed. And then I did my ICF coaching and so on and so forth. So interesting. On LinkedIn, it was like Ramakrishna Rao. It was that. Then I said Ramakrishna Rao in bracket Coach Ram. Then later I made it to Coach Ram bracket Ramakrishna Rao, and finally I said it is Coach Ram. So
So now we know the journey. Wonderful. So whoever is going to listen to this later knows the story behind what happened and why is Coach Ram Coach Ram. Um, Coming to, I mean, thank you for sharing the journey as well, like as to how you started your career and how you know career in graphology happened, and then you did coaching uh, consciously, subconsciously. You were coaching a lot of people coming to you for advice. At what point of time did this current pivot of the role that you're playing currently happen? And if you were to take a 20-25 years old view, overview of your career, what were some of those pivotal moments? And did they happen naturally, or were you intentional, as you said, about it for every move?
mm, uh, this is where I'll refer to a model of goal setting that I wrote about in the book as well, uh, which is a bullseye and compass model.
Hmm.
Two models. One is a bullseye model saying, this is what I want, this company, this role, this designation, this CTC. That's a very bullseye approach to goal setting, vis-a-vis
Yeah.
a compass model, where I'm like, I want to ensure that I'm heading in the right direction, and I'm moving, exploring, learning, and so on and so forth. So yeah, like many people say, you can join the dots only backwards. Um, my career moves have been intentional from a mindset point of view, but not from specifics point of view. What I mean by that is, I knew that every 2 3 years I have to shift something in me. Either it's a new skill or a new role or a new organization, new industry. Um, what was very clear for me is to embrace new experiences.
Mm.
As you embrace new experiences, you discover more about yourself and pick up skills on the way, and that sort of sets you on a new path. So pivots don't pivots are never planned.
Mm.
Pivots, you realize after a point that you have pivoted,
Mm.
right? um, and all of us start our journeys, and that's how even my book journey happened. I
Yeah.
kept writing on LinkedIn, talking about career dilemmas, and after I realized that there's a lot of content that I've already published on LinkedIn, then I felt, okay, why not make it a book? It's
Mm.
not a planned process saying that, okay, I'm going to do ABC and then the book is going to come out.
Yeah.
So when I look at any of my roles, um, so after my first role was setting up a IT training center, helping people get jobs. Then moved into consulting, where I largely spent time on the campuses of Infosys, training people on soft skills, behavior skills, etc. From there into retail, and one to another. Um, None of these are planned. uh, None of these are planned saying, these are the industries, these are the roles that I want to take up, etc. But what is central to all of this, and what's a constant across all this, is that antenna being up,
Mm.
uh, or being looking out for newer experiences, projects, opportunities, roles, connections, and avenues. um, and that's how things evolve.
Yeah. Yeah. No, very true. I think I like what you said when you say having goals is very important. And we are at that point of time in the year when people would be thinking about what next, what should 2025 look like, and what should they be doing. And I also like the way you shared your perspectives on pivots not being planned. It happens, and only when you realize it, um, you have pivoted, is when you kind of realize the impact that has happened. I mean, or gotten created. Ram, I know you have been very active on LinkedIn. You have shared a lot of thought leadership on career dilemmas, and that is what inspired you to write this book called Career Trek. What part of that were your own dilemmas, and were you also going through similar uh, career dilemmas as you were thinking of writing, or were they more a reflection of the kind of coaching conversations that you were having with others?
uh, it's a combination. Mm, Many of those dilemmas are something that I have experienced, like big fish in a small pond, or small fish in a big pond.
Mm,
I've been on both sides,
mm,
and there are pluses and minuses for both.
yeah.
big fish in a small pond gives you different kind of experiences vis-a-vis the other version.
Mm.
And a lot of points a lot of decisions that you make, you reflect on, is this going to do good for me, should I take it up, not take it up. So you end up solving for yourself through mentorship, etc., etc. So yeah, I've had my share of dilemmas, mm, changing industries, changing roles, moving from moving from a role where I had a large team to
Mm.
so at one point I had a team of 60 people, a team of
Mm.
60 trainers, to transitioning to a role with two reportees and two team members. So from a team size of 61 to 3. So should I measure myself by the team size? Should I measure myself by the brand organization I work for? Right? And so there are a lot of these aspects that teach you in terms of how you should look at your career. And of
Yeah.
course, when I started the journey of 100 days career trek, that was intentional. Um, where I said I'm going to document 100 conversations. So yeah, typically I take up the what I call as the rapid fire coaching. Mostly happens in the mornings for about half an hour. That's what before I start my work day. Those are the slots that I keep open, and the conversations that happen is what sometimes tend to get into the same day as a LinkedIn post, and that's how those got built on, right? A lot of issues that people come across. Mid-career blues was one that you spoke about.
Yeah.
Um, you know, hostile, toxic culture is another one. Yeah, people stagnating and not knowing how to get out of that zone is another one. Um, yeah, dealing with office politics is a pretty common issue that comes up. So that's when I looked at, is there a pattern among the dilemmas that people face, and is there a pattern of issues that you face at different stages of your career, and that's where it came up. Actually, did a research with about 700 folks, first-hand research where
Wow.
I released a form where I've asked people's preferences. I've asked them two questions.
Mm.
What do you look for when you want to make your next move?
Mm.
That's one. And second question, what does career mean to you?
Wow. Mm.
So and the pattern that I saw is what career means to me
Mm.
at the beginning of as you start your career, you
Mm.
start focusing more on the brand and CTC and so on and so forth. Then slowly the focus moves towards learning. Then it moves towards leaving a legacy of sorts, as you more about fulfillment, and then into leaving a legacy of sorts. So priorities that we have with respect to our careers also change as we move forward,
Yeah.
right? One dimension, which is meaningful contribution, that was one of the parameters or dimensions that was in single digits when you looked at 20 to 30, which went into high 20s when you move towards the later half of your career. So our outlook towards career changes even as we move towards in our career
Correct.
journeys.
Correct. No, wonderful. I think just a couple of days ago, I was having a conversation with someone, and I was reflecting on my career,
Mhm.
and this term called mid-career came. And I feel it's often a combination of many things. But given that you have done enough and more conversations around this as to what is mid career or what is mid career blues or crisis, as you may want to call, what would you say? Like, how would someone even make sense of the fact that they are in a mid career crisis? What would be the, like a doctor, symptoms that one could, get through?
The symptoms I feel is you sort of feel that your pace of growth has slowed down,
Mm,
and the next two career moves that you could make
mm,
have become blurred.
mm,
When you join as a management trainee, you know, whether it is in marketing, finance, whichever, you know
mm.
that becoming the head of the department is a, is a sort of destination or goal, etc., etc.
Correct.
So when you hit a and your journey can be fairly fast. Either
Mm,
you can become a second in command of the function or the head of the function. Till then the journey is sort of okay, even if you are doing pretty well for yourself. What next after that is a bigger question,
mm,
where you need to move from being a functional expert to a generalist, or you have multiple paths available. Either you become a solopreneur, either build a portfolio career for yourself, or move into consulting, and that's where it sort of branches out from a
mm.
very established linear career path. You suddenly have there are no clear answers. You ask a
Sure.
management trainee, what is your next role? You become a manager. You ask a manager, what's your next role? Become a general manager, right? You ask a general manager, what next is a bigger question mark. They're like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, I don't. There are multiple paths. I don't know which one suits me. Or staying put in the current situation. How does that work? And the dynamics are changing fast. Hmm. The more you age, the anxiety of stability increases,
Yeah.
right? Someone
People
in
just
late,
love saying that age is just a number, but that's not true in the corporate world, I feel.
definitely not. Your anxiety definitely shoots up. You're constantly looking over your shoulder, looking to your left and right, saying, hey, someone else can do my job,
Yeah.
right? And how do you create that competitive advantage for yourself as a much beyond your job description and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So those become critical. So the anxiety is a sign of you hit that phase,
Hmm.
and like we were discussing earlier, it's no longer mid career. It can happen at
Any point of time.
any point right now. It's a point where you feel your boat has stopped, and you need to figure out which way to move, and staying there is not a solution. So you need to make some decisions, and you cannot just go with the flow because the flow has stopped.
Correct.
So that's where people tend to struggle, because till then it was a you went with the flow.
Yeah.
There were established career journeys within the corporate, and you treaded the path. Maybe you moved a little faster than others or slower than others, but the path was established. You hit a point where you need to make a move, and you need to take a leap, reinvent yourself, pivot differently. That's a unknown terrain for many people.
Yeah. Yeah. No, very interesting. I mean, when I hear you, I mean, I'm tempted to say that I feel this is also aggravated with this notion that careers typically are linear in nature. And the world of 2024 doesn't allow linearity in careers. Would it be a fair statement to make?
Yes, But the human tendency is to take solace in predictability, and established career paths have been linear. While we all talk about gig workforce and you
Yeah.
know mm, solopreneur, etc., um, it's a transition. A lot
Yeah.
of people, if you look at 100% of the workforce, I would still say about 60, 70% workforce is still in that linear journeys.
Mm.
It is only people who have hit late 30s or 40s is when they're actually started to think like, okay, I need to do something differently. And we used to pride ourselves in being a young workforce. And
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
but
Continue
the
to
work
do that.
yeah but the workforce but the part of the workforce which is no longer young is where the anxiety kicks in. And that's where
Yeah.
all of these tend to creep in. And
Yeah.
so if I've lived 50% of my career in a linear fashion, and now I'm forced to explore different paths, that's where I need to look at my career differently. So yes, linearity is a myth,
Mm.
but that realization will take time.
Yeah. That would take time, surely. So, knowing that linearity is going to be a myth, are there things that individuals can do, you know, to feel okay, or at least in their minds say that, these are newer ways of career paths that I need to explore? And you mentioned a couple of things: gig working, entrepreneurship, solopreneurship as few of the options. A lot of times these are all thought of as taboo, or even for that matter, because that didn't work, I'm trying to do this now, um, with an intention that eventually I want to go back to my full-time corporate role. So all of these are, a lot of conversations that keep coming um, into the coaching conversations that perhaps even you have had and even I keep having. What would your suggestion be to people on, now that you're in mid-career, now that you have figured out or still in the process of figuring out what needs to be done, how could someone plan their next phase of their careers? Like, what are some of the foundational steps that one can take?
Um, my suggestion to, and I worked with many mid-career professionals, and I look at a lot of people do take up term insurance.
Mm,
And I look at building a portfolio of skills
mm,
as the term insurance for your career.
lovely.
So an exercise that I do is, if someone comes to me with about 15 years of experience,
Mm,
then what I do is sort of a skill mapping,
mm,
and say, let's look at what skills have you gained.
mm,
What are the scenarios that you have mastered and gained experience, and where can you put your experience into play?
mm,
Convert those into skills. And look at what are those skills that can be monetizable in a market.
mm.
uh, because all the while we've been only thinking, this is my resume, what will help me get a job?
Yeah.
How do I enrich my resume to get a better job, the next role, and so on and so forth. So we sort of looked at embellishing and strengthening that resume in the hope of cracking the next full-time job.
Yeah.
um, and when full-time jobs become when the opportunities tend to dry up as you scaled up in your career, when your CTC reaches a certain point, and the pyramid becomes narrow as you go to the top. Opportunity is definitely dry up, hard to come by. That's when the anxiety kicks in. So what's important is not just to mm, prepare your resume or your body of work with the next corporate role in mind, but also with, and this can work even if you're looking at a, even if you wish to continue in corporate, but look at yourself as a gig worker, solopreneur, and you say this is what I have as a value to add to your organization in whichever capacity I come. So looking at skills that I've gained and skills that I want to gain, which are low hanging fruits for me, adjacent skills that I can gain, um, that will sort of help me build a portfolio of skills.
Mm.
So
Mm.
when I'm talking about my resume, I'm not talking about number of years of experience or the brands that I've worked with, but I'm talking about scenarios that I have handled. So if I compare two profiles, someone says I have 15 years of experience in human resources,
Yeah.
uh, vis-a-vis someone who says that I've handled mergers and acquisitions, I've handled layoffs, and I've handled XYZ, I've handled global workforce. That speaks a lot vis-a-vis a number and a brand name, right? So building those portfolio of skills is what gives gives the individual the confidence and strength that will help you be more effective, even if you are in your current corporate role. That's also fine, but you operate with a lot more sense of self-esteem and assurance.
Incredible. I think you've kind of shared quite a lot in terms of what individuals can do. Um, I want to go back to where we started our conversation about have how your career has happened. And I remember you saying one thing: people willing to take bet on you. Um, what I have observed is that in the last 5 to 7 years of social media growing the way it is growing, personal branding has become very important, and people often ignore that. So while networking is important for you to find your next role, which again is something that people don't really do as much or doesn't come naturally to a lot of people, the other aspect is to be able to work towards making others believe that they can place a bet on you. What is that? Like, what does it take for someone to say, yeah, Coach Ram is a great guy. Let me take a bet on this person. What should it, like, how should it look like for someone? Like, what are things that someone needs to do to be able to get there?
uh, I feel it's something, it's how you come across.
Hmm.
um, I What comes to my mind is also another video, a clip that went really viral, where Barack
Hmm.
Obama spoke about what makes you a successful guy. He
Hmm.
said people should be able to count on you,
Hmm.
and when there are 7 8 people, and you have a problem at hand, who is the first person whom you will look at?
Right.
And that person stood out for whatever reasons,
Right.
and that whatever reasons is the crux of what we are referring to. Be a problem solver, be someone who embraces challenges, be the first one to put your hand up, volunteer for opportunities, volunteer for initiatives, um, be someone who can solve the problems. I've heard another interesting phrase where they said, become someone who makes your boss look good in front of his boss."
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's not about politics or bucketing, as the nomenclature we say. It's about being seen as someone who is dependable and someone who gives you that bit that bit extra,
Mm.
that gives the so all of these, willing to take up challenges, um, willing to do something that others would usually avoid, right?
Mm.
You say, right, if you want something that no one else is getting, be willing to do something that no one else is doing, right?
Very
So
true.
it is those extras,
Mm.
volunteering, challenging the status quo, embracing those newer experiences, and delivering on what you take up, which gives confidence to people to take on more bets with you. So these traits are common, and across, if you see, wherever you have, every manager may have someone called as a blue-eyed boy, and a favorite, and so on and so forth. And if you see a pattern among these, so-called blue-eyed boys, or girls, or someone who has sort of as a godfather of sorts, the pattern that you will see is that they are willing to do that bit extra, which gives confidence for their managers to place bets on them.
Wonderful, wonderful. All of that are extremely easy to hear, hard to do. But I really hope that you people listening into this at some point of time, or even now, um, share their perspectives on whether it is too hard to do, or what are some of the things that you're already doing. So, uh, Ram, I want to move to two different set of people, or
Mhm.
population that we haven't spoken about. One who are starting their career now, and one who are mid 50s, who are still trying to reinvent themselves to do things differently. What does 2024 look like for them? What should they do in 2025 to remain relevant?
Yeah, so relevance is very contextual. Mm. If there is anyone who can give a quick guide on what should be done, uh, the person is a great storyteller and is bluffing through successfully. So I don't
That,
think.
yeah, a
Yeah,
lot of names coming in front of me, but I wouldn't.
yeah.
Yeah,
What we can say is, what are the mindsets that are required,
yeah,
right?
sure.
And I talk about A, B, C, D, E, in my
Mm,
book. That might take long, but
sure, that's fine.
essentially, yeah. So essentially, it's what is the mindset that is required?
Mm,
Building those analytical problem solving skills.
mm,
That's one. So if I just go through those A, B, C, D, E, A starts with anti-fragility. This
mm,
is a term that was, at least I got familiar with the term through Nassim Nicholas Taleb.
mm,
He wrote the book Anti-Fragility, where he talks about
mm,
how glass is fragile. So if you put more force, then glass breaks. But muscles are anti-fragile. If you put more force, they become stronger.
yeah.
So how do you become
Mm,
anti-fragile? It's not about
mm,
resisting change, embracing change. It's about looking forward to change and leading the change. So
mm,
anti-fragility is one. B goes for business mindset. Um, Irrespective of which stream you're taking, you may be in a humanities kind of a stream or a career, but still knowing business. And even when you talk about coaches, I recently saw announcement of a course which said you may be a good coach, but how do you build your coaching business? Attend this program. So you may be good at your art, but still you need to have that business bent of
Yeah.
mind and acumen, which is critical. So that's what B stands for. And C for that curiosity, that learner mindset, all the time. D for digital mindset, being savvy. I like the way you do. You come out with you know video bites, and I'm sure in the next 3-4 days you will have a video of me. That's a pitch.
Sure shot.
Yeah. So what you're doing, or we as podcasters do, we learn StreamYard, we learn video editing,
Correct.
try different things, but we are savvy with technology, and
Yeah.
people do that. So having that digital mindset approach, all the time, and emotional quotient, because you're working with people, and you have to work with people. There's no other way around it. Being an
Mm.
individual contributor, even if you're an individual contributor, you need to work with a lot of people. So that emotional quotient. So A, B, C, D, E. I think these are ones that these are mindset skills which are very foundational, primary. That I would recommend even for someone in 20s.
Mm.
Want to build a successful career. For someone in 50s, again, like I said, hmm, profiling your career, so that you know what are those skills which are niche and monetizable, and building a brand. uh, Building a brand cannot happen overnight.
Mm.
um, you should have, like people talk about, you know how compounding works.
Yeah.
uh, Brand building is all about compounding, even if it is personal brand. Mm. So if you have someone in 50s trying to think of brand building, is too late. Not to disappoint and say nothing can be done, but brand building is something that has to happen as you progress through your career, um, and you can monetize it at whichever point. But for someone who is in 50s, reinventing is the key.
Yeah. No, wonderful. And I think the person who you and I both look up to in this matter is Abhijit Bhaduri. The way he has kind of reinvented himself continues to. I mean, he was there on the podcast, the 24th one, and he said he's trying to learn a new skill. And
Hmm.
I was like, I'm sure you're going to make it a big one. I was like, I don't know. So with that humility, groundedness, still trying to have a curious mindset is something that is a very important part. So, no, wonderful. Let's talk about the book. I mean, we spoke about the journey in itself, like what led to the book and how the book was done. I want to talk about book in two aspects. One is the process of writing and publishing it, which we'll come to it later. But most importantly, what could listeners expect from the book, and who does it cater to?
Um, when I thought of the audience, my audience mostly is about 5 years to 15 years kind of experience.
Hmm.
They are my primary audience for the book.
Hmm.
What you can get from that book is how to be intentional about your career, um, how to plan for your career milestones, um, self-awareness is a very critical element. So getting to know about yourself is step one. Having the right kind of people in your ecosystem, which is what I call personal board of directors. um, Building that ecosystem, having a sponsor, um, building a pool of sponsors who can take those bets on you,
Hmm.
right? Embracing your experiences, being out there, building a personal brand, speaking up for yourself, cutting through, separating yourself, making your voice heard among the noise, right? So
Hmm.
a lot of these I would not say hacks are very short term. A lot of
Hmm.
these strategies in terms of how you build yourself for the future is what
Hmm.
the book unpacks for you.
Hmm.
In fact, the book is written in a very conversational mode.
Yeah.
It's a conversation between Coach Ram and Piyush. Piyush happens to be my son. Um, so he may not listen to me much otherwise. So I ensure that he listens to me through all the 190 pages. So yeah, so it's in a conversational mode, and
Yeah.
I wanted it to be modular. So you can look at the chapters, and you can pick any one chapter, and
Yeah.
uh, it's modular and complete in itself. So you will get your some of your questions answered when you go through those chapters.
Yeah. No, wonderful. I've read this book, so I've kind of also written a few words about that in the book itself. So uh,
Absolutely.
wonderfully structured, very simple to learn and implement what needs to be done. Um, it's also a very interesting perspective on the fact that we are talking about writing and creating content in times where people don't consume the kind of content as much, the writing being the fact, right? um, I've been contemplating writing a book for a long time. And one of the reasons why this journey of podcasting started also was because of that. But as we keep hearing that, we write content on, LinkedIn, or even write books, do people even read? That's one part. When I started the podcasting journey, people say 1 hour is too long, can you do short bites, which is about 15 minutes? And I mean, I really appreciate all those perspectives and inputs and insights. um, what are your thoughts on, the journey of an author in times like these? Did you also go through these dilemmas when you were writing? And walk anyone who's an aspiring writer or an author through the process of going ahead and publishing the book?
Yeah, in fact, I remember Krish Shankar mentioning during my book launch, saying, people hardly read books these days. And
Yes.
said he said there are courageous people like Ram who went ahead and published a book, but uh, people hardly read books. He published a book titled
Yeah.
Catacombs, and I know,
Yes.
and now I can relate to that statement. So,
Yeah.
so the people in my close network, while they're uh, good friends and talk about the book positively, many of them have not read the book.
Yeah.
Uh, so people don't have the time, attention, focus to actually read through a book. Um, it's a lot of investment currently, because there's a lot of stimulus available,
Yeah.
right, to satisfy my curiosity.
Mm.
People are happy going through Insta reels, and
Mm.
a lot of followership builds, etc., etc. um, so I'm okay with a 90-second, 1 minute dopamine that fulfills my curiosity.
Yeah.
So Audible as a format has been growing well. So even I don't read books, I listen to books on
Yeah.
Audible. So
Yeah.
yeah, the format in which people consume content has changed. It is audio, it is video, it is short form. Hmm. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
But writing a book has its charm. Uh, it does. For you to put together a book, you need to have a lot of clarity on what you want to convey. Um,
Yes.
so usually we say, and that's been my personal experience as well. If you read a book, which means you at least you're reliving at least
Mm.
a lot of lived experience flows through the book. So
Mm.
there are readers for that. Um, but yeah, but your question, if you're expecting to become a bestseller, make a living out of being an author, etc., then probably that's not what it is.
Yeah.
But if you're writing to put your life story out, um, there is a niche audience who will benefit from it.
Mm.
You derive um, you derive a lot of satisfaction that you put out a body of your work out there for people to consume. So
Yeah.
that's a very gratifying experience.
Yeah. Um, how have you changed as an individual after writing this book? Has anything changed for you?
Oh, a lot. Um, I think I have sobered down in terms of um, from being a attention-seeking butterfly, hopping from one place to another place, etc., to a sense of anchoring within my own, mm, saying, my outlook towards what do I want out of my career journey. So
Mm.
I think I've got a lot of clarity in terms of what I am seeking. Mm. So and that's what I write about partly in my book as well. Um, Peer comparisons tend to impact you, affect you when you're not clear about what you want, because what everyone else has seems to excite you, and you sort of
Mm.
visualize yourself in that. Hey, Gopal has started a podcast and it's doing very well. I think I should do a podcast. Ram has written a book that's doing well. Maybe I should write a book. Arjun started a company and that's doing well. Maybe I should do that. So you tend to compare yourself that way, or okay, Sham is doing very well as a solopreneur. Maybe that's what I should do.
Mm.
So a lot of these things keep cropping. Um, till a point you have clarity within yourself of till you are looking internal, and once you start looking internal and you get clarity on what you want, then you know that okay, uh, Sham, Arjun, Gopal are doing pretty well, but I'll do what makes meaning to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I
Wow.
think I sort of reached that stage with the book journey. A lot more clarity in terms of what I want from my life.
Incredible. Incredible. I know there was a movie, which is a Tamil movie, called Dawn, recent movie by Shivakarthikeyan. And in that trailer, if you were to go and look on YouTube, he'll keep asking, "Can I become this? Like, can I become a Don? Can I become a movie director? Can I become like?" It's like through his life journey, he'll keep
Mm.
asking questions on, "This seems really good. Can I become that?" But until he finally discovers what his true purpose is. So yeah, we all go through those stages in our lives, I guess. Um, Wonderful, Ram. Really appreciate you coming in, but we'll not let you go without a quick rapid fire.
Yeah,
So
bring
here
it
you
on.
go
In
with
fact,
the rapid fire
the last
questions.
the last chapter of my book is rapid fire with Coach Ram. So
Lovely. So, what's a career decision you made that felt risky at the time but turned out to be a game changer?
transition from Future Group to Aditya Birla Group. So I
Mm.
had an option. either to stay back with Future Group or move into Aditya Birla Group, because Pantaloons was bought over by Aditya Birla Group and I had to make a decision. It was, I didn't know how it will work out, but in hindsight, it has worked out very well for me.
Wonderful. If you were to, you know, give back one advice to your younger self, what would that be? And it could be one word.
Being more intentional about your career.
Wonderful. What is a perfect day for Ram? A work day, perfect work day.
A lot of ideation. So if I you have, so I derive a lot of satisfaction from coming up with breakthrough ideas. So there are some who derive satisfaction from ideation, some with execution, etc. I'm more the ideation. So if I can come up with 2-3 great ideas that can have a large impact in my area of work, that's like I would consider that day as a great day of sorts.
Lovely. If not Coach Ram, what else could it have been? Graphologist Ram?
I think Explorer Ram, maybe I'll end up doing that. I had this vision of, I want to go with a caravan, across the country, traveling and stopping by wherever I need to do some coaching, do some counseling, keep moving. So maybe I'll end up doing that. But yeah.
Interesting. I'm sure that's something that's going to happen pretty soon sometime. And I wish you all the very best for that. Any new books in the anvil?
Couple of books in mind. One around coaching, which I'm working with a friend, likely to co-author a book on that. Yeah, and one around HR. So these are 2 books that I have in my mind now.
Wonderful, wonderful. Lovely. Any parting thoughts for the audience listening in now or later?
Thank you for joining this wonderful conversation between Gopal and me. Feels more like we met at a coffee day, rather than on global television live.
Yeah.
So if anything that we have spoken in the conversation resonated with you, please get in touch with either of us. Happy to have a conversation. My parting thought is, being open to new experiences. I believe new experiences pave the way for you to figure out your next calling, passion, and that's what keeps you moving forward.
Yeah, yeah. Quite a few of our colleagues had joined. Ramakrishna Rao. So someone who K. Ramakrishnan joined to listen to Ramakrishna Rao. Interesting one. His name is not seen here, but yeah, he did join and probably is listening. And even as we speak, Gaurav says, "Thank you for asking that question on the fact that what is this thing called mid-career crisis." Thank you, Gaurav. Lovely chatting with you, Ram. I think a lot of people who are listening in now and who would listen to this later would derive a lot of value out of this conversation. And yeah, of course, would reach out, approach you, and a lot many more coaching conversations are on its way, I feel. So with that, thank you so much for joining in. Thank you so much to each and every one who's listening in to us now or would listen to this later. It's been an interesting journey, and I think for me, doing this 26th time also feels surreal. But I think there are a lot many more stories yet to come. We are, I feel living through a time where things just are not predictable. We explored several themes in the 24th episode, and I'll strongly recommend all of you to go back and listen to that if you can, on how is geopolitics evolving, inflation, politics in the country, otherwise, consumption stories. How can we make the best of the time that we have during a week, and all of that? And all of that is going to have an impact in the way you work. So, if you're considering a career shift or a pivot, be mindful about these realities and take a good decision about how you want to take your career forward. Ram and I and many people like us are always available to have a quick chat whenever you think you need more guidance, advice. And I hope that Ram's stories and practical advice on tackling the mid-career challenges and embracing change and being intentional in your career, all of that resonated with you and gives you new ideas for your own journey. Careers are not always linear, and they are never going to be, at least for the next decade, for sure. And remember, that's okay. Yardsticks have changed. And what truly matters today is being self aware, open to new opportunities, and being intentional about how you want to grow. It's not just about climbing a ladder, it's about finding fulfillment and creating impact with what we do and thrive in an unpredictable world. We'll keep bringing in more stories, more people, more journeys, as journeys of reinvention, stories of reinvention, and continue to be adaptable, continue to be open, listen to conversations like these. I can't wait to bring more people onto this podcast. Until then, stay curious, stay confident, keep tuning into Career Shifts podcast on LinkedIn, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music. Thank you so much. See you soon. Keep growing, keep exploring, and keep moving forward. Thank you.
Cool. See you.